Iran has been replicating the most effective weapons from other countries for years in order to avoid developing its own technology. In order to fortify its defenses and discourage the West from attempting to influence the Islamic nation, it recently set its sights on one of the world's most potent tanks. The Karrar or Striker heavy tank is a heavily modified T-7 from the Soviet era that has been modernized to perform at the same level. As with the Russian T-90, Iran has developed a sizable manufacturing sector around their allegedly locally produced main battle tank, which it claims is as powerful as any other main battle tank in the world. In a bold initiative intended to dramatically improve their military technological capability and defense capabilities, it is said that they have constructed over 800 tanks. The Iranian government claims, but if even a small portion of what they say is accurate, the Middle Eastern country might develop into one of the greatest threats to Western democracies. Several military analysts disagree that the Karrar can perform similarly to the T-90. Copycat. Despite being a relatively tiny country with a small military sector and being severely affected by a number of Western economic sanctions, Iran has recently been able to create excellent military weaponry. Under these particular conditions, the majority of other nations are compelled to purchase a few obsolete weapons from foreign nations and can only wish to have their own armed forces. But incredibly, Iran has been able to make its own military equipment independently. Nation's apparent success lies in its blatant and defiant copying of older American, European, Russian, and Chinese military technology. The Iranians aren't scared to reverse engineer Western technology and make it their own, even if they are aware that they lack the engineering and scientific resources to create their very own weapons from the ground up. Iran has recently showcased a variety of military concepts, such as jet aircraft, gunships, warships, tanks, missiles, and artillery pieces. They are extremely diverse, but they do have something in common. Any military enthusiast can immediately recognize that they have modified recognizable military weaponry. A serious danger, even while these so-called domestic items are exact replicas of every modern technology, they nonetheless pose a serious threat. The Iranians frequently give the best and most battle-tested military equipment in the world, many of the weapons they copy, a contemporary twist. This strategy has the obvious benefit of allowing Iran to increase its arsenal production. Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Dan Ward, an engineer and acquisitions officer, put it this way: while saving all the money that other nations invest in research and development, one of the benefits of this frugal innovation approach is that it allows a greater quantity of aircraft to be purchased as opposed to the infamously small fleet of F-22s, for example. Iran may not possess the most inventive or distinctive weaponry, but it can produce more of them. This acts as a potent propaganda tool and causes Western nations to pause. Any external military asset that slips into their hands runs the risk of becoming the latest in Iranian indigenous technology before considering upsetting the totalitarian leadership, as the country has already made the blatant copying of foreign technology and national doctrine. Additionally, Iranian officials assert that they developed their own stealth drone manufacturing techniques after a U.S. spy drone crashed into the Iran-Afghanistan border in December 2011. However, their most recent weapon was copied and claimed to be their own creation. Is the formidable Russian T-91 one of the world's most potent tanks? It is yet another piece of equipment from the Vietnam era that has been updated and painted to become their own. But only time will tell if it keeps the qualities that make the T-90 so spectacular. A dubious transaction. 2015 saw Russia announce that, following the easing of sanctions between the two nations, it will permit Iran to produce the T-90's main battle tank. The agreement was groundbreaking because it would provide a potent new weapon. Just as construction on the Iranian T-90 started, the Iranian regime, which had hitherto been restricted to an outdated arsenal, had something changed. And the agreement was scrapped after Russia stopped allowing Iran to make its tanks. Notably, Iran said that the agreement was null and void. It also became clear that the country could now produce its own third-generation tanks. The Iranian tank, known as the Karrar or Striker, resembled the Russian 1990 in many ways. Less than a year after the Karrar design was first shown, an assembly line was constructed at the Boning-Hasan Defense Industrial Complex. By 2018, it's estimated that the Iranian military had successfully constructed roughly 800 tanks. The Iranian armored vehicle has received widespread criticism from Russia for being a subpar imitation of the T-90. However, other experts have speculated that this may be a charade and that Russia is actually allowing Iran to exploit their technology. It would be a huge step forward for the Iranian military and proof of the copycat theory if the Karrar is even remotely comparable to the T-90 in terms of performance, firing power, mobility, and protection. The Iranian Army Ground Force, Brigadier General Karrar, even claimed that the Karrar is much more advanced than the Zulfikar tank, which would make the armored vehicle a huge step forward from the previous Zulfikar tank used by the Iranian troops. Having over 800 T-90 equivalent tanks would instantly make the Iranian armed military a force to be reckoned with. I appreciate you watching my video. Don't be afraid to click the screen and look through some of our other ominous documentary channels to uncover more amazing military tales highlighting the most cutting-edge fighting equipment and the valiant heroes who utilized it to alter the course of history.